Well, good morning, Kaylee. I'm glad you're here. I knew you would be. Oh my, let's put this up on the screen. Oh my, someone called the fuzz. Lucretia has someone locked in the basement. I never would have thought it. Oh yes, I got someone in the basement, finally. No, uh, Patty is a friend of mine who happens to live in the more of the uh, that she lives in Springfield, which is closer to the actual fires. Yep. And I knew she would be a great person to chat about this. Doo doo. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and bring her on screen. She's a smart lady. She can figure out what's going on. And let me say hello first to some people. Little Bit Crazy 84. Thank you, dear, for coming over. I have a feeling this is a Roy and Becky raid. Sherry's Creations and Inspirations. Thank you for coming. Boondocking with Boomer. Thank you. And I believe your name is Lance. Yes, I was going to say it, but it was there. So hello, Lance. I'm glad you're here. Nancy, thank you for coming. Scott Jacobs, thank you, Scott Jacobs, and appreciation. Camping Therapy, oh boy, you are here for a few minutes. I know you have a doctor's appointment. Hello, New Horizons. How are you doing, Susan? I hope you're doing better. I said a lot of prayers for your family and friends. Kaylee, of course. We've got a little RV underway. Roy and Becky Raid, thank you for coming over. I'm glad you are here. We're getting a few people wandering in here. I think what I'm going to do is, so today's show is going to be all about, hi, Roy and Becky. Thank you for coming. I know you've already done your own show, so I'm glad you're here. And I do have to drink some coffee, people. This is my first cup of the day. So I'm going to go ahead. So today's show is going to be all about the fire and the consequences and the fallout to the Pacific Northwest. And yes, Susan, I've lost two sisters, and I realized this was a friend that was like a sister, and I have people like that in my life too. So I'm so sorry for your loss, dear. And you have my phone number. Please, anytime, feel free to call. All right, so I have got a friend of mine. She's a personal friend of mine. Every date is a potential mate. Could be that way with house buyers also. Only takes one. Oh, yes, only takes one. I was a realtor, and it was a while ago. It was a little about over 10 years ago. And then I had an on-the-job injury, if you can imagine, as a realtor, that stopped my real estate career in its path. And I was doing very well. I loved real estate. I sold 18 houses in 9 months. And it was on a roll. And then I had an injury that will not allow me to go up and down stairs on a regular basis, like showing a house and you have to climb a whole flight of stairs and back down. And then, by the way, most people want to go back up again at least once. Aaron, thank you for coming over. Modern King, which is my son. Thank you, Brent, for coming in. I think we'll see Richard here too eventually. Maggie 2263. Thank you, Maggie. Glad you're here. So, as I've said, the show is going to be about the fires. I got to spend some time over at a local evacuation site. And hang out there for a while with a friend and chat with some people there, which in and of itself was shocking and amazing all at the same time. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Patty. When you're ready, don't feel rushed. Just wave at me, and you got your coffee cup. Is it full? You just wave at me and I'll bring you. Okay, she's ready.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming, Patty.
No problem. Thank you for asking me.
Yes, well, I knew you would be a good resource because first of all, you you're not going to turn it into Armageddon.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to be realistic about it. You're living in its path. You're a little closer to it than I am by about 6 miles. um, letting the prisoner out of the basement. See, that's what we call the basement. So I haven't used the basement a lot. I've used it a few times, but I'm still getting used to it. So today's show, as I said, is going to be about the fires. I'm going to show a couple of on-screen things first before you and I get into it. And
Okay.
I've got another guest here as well, but she's going to stay down in the chat for a while. Um, First thing I want to show is the map here of where the fire is. And I'm going to make sure that you and I are still on, where did I go? StreamYard. It is. All right. So right here, it's called the Holiday Farm Fire. And it, I believe, has merged with another fire that is up a little higher. And the winds kind of shifted and have been pushing kind of northwestward. And so what's happening, we also now have a whole bunch of fog in the area. And so I don't know if you've noticed it over on your neck of the woods, Patty, but over here where we live in Eugene, which is right here, Springfield's right here, we're all kind of in a line, is an extreme amount of fog and an extreme amount of smoke consequence, the smoke flying over us and hanging out. So I wanted to kind of share that as an update to give a view of what's going on. So the fire has stopped short of the town, although there have been level 1 and 2 evacuation and 3 even in this area. And I'll tell you about some stories I got to be witness to yesterday. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the map down. And Patty, if you want to share your experience, tell them who you are, what happened, what it's like, it will probably flow pretty easy.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Patty. Yeah, I live right. I live right downtown Springfield, right off Pioneer Parkway. If you look at a map, it's one of the main roads. Main Street. It's 126 and Pioneer Parkway. And Monday night, we lost power here, and we all stepped outside, and the air was so thick with smoke, it was like walking into a campfire. And the last time this had been this way was 3 years ago when there was a bad fire, and we had smelled the smoke. That was in September. I had left to go to see family in New York, and my friend picked me up at like 4 in the morning, and I stepped outside and was like, "Look, if anything happens, grab my cat." She's like, "Don't worry, I got it." But we're all like, okay, there's no power, and the only places lit up were the apartment complex across the street and the jail a few blocks away. They had power, and we're like, okay, well, we're only a couple of blocks away from the utility board, so we're usually a priority to get back on because they need it for their facilities. But it still was a few hours, and by then, the winds are just whipping, and that was the night when everything when everything really started out in Blue River. Um, I still don't know how the fire started. I don't know what caused it. I know that there was a lot of people out there. We had been to Blue River 2 weeks earlier swimming in the reservoir, so I still have pictures of us, my friends on the kayaks. We with all the people, their kids and everything, and we had literally just been to Blue River. So, as we're leaving, my friend who had never been out there, I'm telling Lori, I'm like, "Oh, there's the Christmas treasure store. Next time we come back out, we'll go there. It's a blast. It's huge. It's gone. It's gone." You know, um, People were camping at Blue River. And I have friends that live in the Walterville area, which is further west, closer toward me, that they got out, but they lost power on Monday. So none of the Wi-Fi, none of the phones, the Wi-Fi, no, none of their phones were working. And so they weren't getting any of the updates. Now, come Tuesday, by by Tuesday, all day Tuesday, my phone was going off like 5 or 6 times that day with alerts of the evacuation. We're changing this from a 1 to a 2. Blue Rivers is a 3. 2 Vida. Get out, get out, get out. And then it's like, okay. Then an hour or two later, all of a sudden the red line moves. Now it's by Walterville. Get out, get out, get out. And I'm thinking, oh my God, all these people I know that live out there. And my phone started ringing. And so, I don't have a car. So by Tuesday night, one of my friends called me and said, can this other friend get you if we have to get out of here? I said, I think so. Let me call her. And I called her. She said, she and her daughter were like, oh my God, we should be packing bags. And I said, okay, all right, I'll pack a bag. And she's like, if we hit level 2, we're just going to leave. And for me, it was like, okay, but where do we go? Because by then there was fire everywhere. And it was like, we were talking about headed to the coast. And I'm like, all right, I have a few $100s in my account. It should buy us a hotel room for a night or whatever. I'm like, but after that, I don't know what we're going to start begging on the street. And so it's just like, where do you go?
Right.
And so by Tuesday night, I packed. I was getting shaky because the smoke outside was getting
Oh yeah.
thicker and thicker, and you're closed up in the house, so you're not going anywhere. And so I packed a bag up Tuesday night. I got the cat. I lent a cat carrier to a friend who lives out in Thurston. She was put on level 1 Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe Wednesday. By then, Wednesday, I think it was. And so I had given her the cat grade. They never had they never went up from a 1. So thank God. And now they're back to like, they're not a level anything. They're okay. But she didn't have a carrier for her 2 cats. So I gave her one of mine. I was just happy to have a second one. So it's like, okay, so by Tuesday night before I went to bed, I was awake all night. I had received at least 15 of those. You're in the middle of trying to do something, and all of a sudden your phone's like, you're like, okay, and you start
Right.
getting into that like fight or flight mode where you
Right.
feel yourself shaking, and it's like, okay, just check it, just check. It's like, okay, this area is, it's like, okay, they're repeating the same thing. They're repeating the same thing. It's up to Walterville and Thurston Road, uh, which is about 60 blocks from me. And then when they made the level 1 for Thurston, that's 50 blocks from me. And by Wednesday, they had the evac center in Thurston. Wednesday, they moved it to my neighborhood. And so my friends are calling that I'm supposed to get a ride with, and they're like, we're watching all this stuff and the fires are growing, and they've closed off Marcola where they used to live. And that whole area is now a level 3. Should we just leave? And at that point, first, I don't know, I was really calm.
Mm-hmm.
And all I kept thinking was, I'm in the palm of God's hand. I was just like, it's okay. We're okay. I'm like, the evac center's in my neighborhood. Now, if they move it across the river and keep going west, I'll start to worry. I'm like, I got a bag packed. We're okay for now. And if you look at, as we're looking at the maps on Lane County government, it's like all of the roads going east, all of them were closed. It was like, you can't leave. It was one road headed southeast, and even that had a red dot on part of it. So it was like,
Yeah.
you would only have been able to go so far. And
Right.
then, and so I was like, there's nowhere to go. The whole state's on fire. By then, Lincoln City on the coast, they're showing images of the coast with smoke and orange sky. And I'm like, oh, there was our evacuation plan. I was like, because one of the worries was we're in the valley. So all of
Yeah.
the smoke just settles here and it doesn't go anywhere. And normally during the summer, with having allergies like I do and asthma, with this being the grass seed capital of the world, which I didn't know when I moved here, it was like, oh wow, that was really poor planning on my part. It was like, because in the summer it's like the pollen hits the air and it just settles in the valley, and you just
Right.
walking around with like your head feeling like a balloon for a couple of months. People are like, are you okay? I'm like, yes, I'm
So,
fine, I'm okay. And so this entire week, it's like my ears were plugged. I had a headache um for like 4 days. The headache went away yesterday for the first time. But it
good.
was like, thank you God, because I took out have a saline wash to clear out your sinuses, and I did that on Friday, and my ears, it hurt because my ears were so plugged from the smoke, because it's in, when we went outside Monday, that was the first time I had opened, had the doors open. Tuesday, I had somebody come over, but just that bit of smoke getting in here, I had no way to filter it out.
Right.
And every time I turned on the air conditioner, my friend's like, turn on the AC, it'll filter it out. Well, I turned on the AC and all I would smell was smoke. And I was like, I think it's bringing the air from outside, but we finally figured out it's not. It's just there was so much smoke in my apartment that it smelled like it was blowing smoke because it was trying to filter the smoke out. So I
Hmm.
have finally, by Friday, I just left the AC on for a while. I heard some tips online about boiling thyme, rosemary, sage, cedar, like boil them, because the moisture from the droplets will attach to the smoke particles and drop it down. And it was like, don't vacuum, because when you vacuum, you'll pull the stuff back up.
Right.
I've seen stuff about baking soda. Drop that in your carpet to try and absorb the smoke in the air. I saw yesterday somebody posted they put their slow cooker on low with half a box of baking soda, and they said it's working beautifully
Oh,
to
wow.
pull the smoke out of the air. And it's because we've just been trapped inside. And it was like, just day after day of just it's like I kept scratching my ears because there was nothing to clear it out. Hold on, let me just take a sip of coffee. I'm also on my first cup, so morning.
Oh, go ahead. Everybody out
So
there is more than likely sipping coffee too.
yeah, I know. So my cat is very frustrated because she can't go outside. So, because normally
Oh, yeah.
I leave my back door open. I'm upstairs, so I have a little, patio outside,
Hmm.
and so she loves to sit out there and like watch the birds and see
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going on. And so she keeps going to the back door, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, I'm not opening the door, I can't open the door. So, we've been trapped in here since Sunday. She has she has started sulking.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'll give you a second. She's sulking on the chair.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is That's Luna. That's Luna
Back,
sulking. I'm
her
not
back
looking
is
at
turned
you.
to you.
I'm Mrs. Chop Liver. I'm just over here. Just pay no mind. I'll just lay here and die now. And so it's like, okay, all right, super. So just the evac center moved to my neighborhood, and then I was going to be donating, because I'm a big lady. I was like, you know what,
Hmm.
I could probably donate some clothes. I'm sure there are women large, and it's hard for us to find clothes to begin with.
Right. Right.
And so I don't have a car. And a friend of mine's like, I will, if you want to donate clothes. So Saturday, I was going to try and put together a bag. And by then, they were like, stop bringing stuff to the evac center where I live, bring it to Eugene. And I didn't want to ask her to bring me to Eugene, because she's got her mom who's got dementia. And so it's just, I didn't want to ask her to take me to the other side of the track. So, and I feel bad because I'm like, I'm sure that there are people that really, I see the stories. The young boy that was missing, and for a day or so, we were all like, oh God, he had his dog with him, so maybe they made it to the river or something. No, they didn't make it. And by the time we found out about this, he was 13 years old, and the dog was with him. They died together, and it's just, by Thursday, I was started talking about it, and I just started crying. I haven't cried since last year. And it was just like, I just started sobbing. And I think it was just all of it just really hit me. like finally hit me of all the devastation. And I go online. I mean, usually, I mean, I'm originally from New York, and we would see stuff about fires over the years, and just and it wasn't a yearly occurrence, but it was
Hmm.
always like these natural disasters happening, and you're watching them, and you're sitting in your living room safe, watching Netflix. And well, back then not Netflix, but you
Right.
got your cup of coffee and like, oh God, those poor people, and you pray for them. But you just it just being in it and seeing my friends post on Facebook, my aunt and uncle are missing, and it's not away. It's not over there anymore.
Right.
Like that, I'll just make up a name. That's Betty's aunt and uncle that are
Yeah.
missing.
Yeah.
They haven't heard from them for 3 days. Everyone in the family, if you posting photos of them, please God, if you see them, please post and let me know. My mom and dad are missing. And they're people, seeing images of like Blue River, seeing the images of the Christmas treasure store, just literally like it was still on fire, but it was like a foot of the material left. There was that
Hmm.
little of the building left, and somehow they had images of it, and it's just the store Vita, just all these places. We thought that one of the treasured old covered bridges had burned
Right.
down,
Right.
and that was one of the, oh my gosh, Good Pasture Bridge is gone, and then it turned out it wasn't. It was like King's Crown Bridge or something, which I don't know. I
Right.
didn't Google it because at that point it was just incoming over and over again of all the
Hmm.
loss, and fires meeting up, and friends that live up in Portland. That I lived in Portland for 3 years, and they can't breathe. I've got a friend who had moved to Almsville a couple of months ago,
Oh.
and a week and a half, well, now it's 2 weeks, we went to her place up in Almsville, and then went to Silver Falls. Now, I'd never been there.
Oh.
We didn't get to the falls that you get to walk behind because we went to the wrong falls. And by then it was too late. We're like, all right, we'll come back another time. Well, they wound up on level two. She was on level two from Tuesday until Saturday. They brought her back down to a one, and I think she's still at a level one because she was southeast of Salem. But she
Hmm.
was, she taped the windows in her place. She put a towel down by her door. So it's just, but at least, she's like, everybody here is, because we were supposed to meet up for breakfast Tuesday morning. She was going to be here at 9. I called her at 7 and said, you sure you want to come?
Mm.
Because it's bad. And
Right.
she's like, no, I'm sure it'll be fine. And then half an hour later, I'm in the shower. I come out of the shower. I see she called. I called her back, and she's like, in Armsville, she's like, these people are very laid back. They've got their horses. It's farmland. Everybody's really chill. She's like, all the stores that normally are open, they're not open.
Right.
And there's a line at the gas station, and people are freaking out. And she's like, these people that are just so like, hey, how's it going? Are like filling up gas. They're freaking out.
Right.
And so she's like, I can't leave my cat. And I'm totally understand. Even if you didn't have a cat, I can totally understand. But so she was at her place and so every day it's, hey, how's it going? Sending on Messenger, you still there? You still okay? And yes, we're still here. And no plans to get out yet. And so it's just, people that I knew that lived in Walterville, they left their place on Tuesday,
Hmm.
and but they never got a because the Wi-Fi was out. They didn't get warning, so they grabbed their chickens and their dog, and
Oh.
packed up some stuff and got in the car and headed west. And they're staying at another friend's place. But it was like by the time they were leaving, I think the Wi-Fi came back on, and the alarms are going off on their phone. But thank God, and that's what it is the stories that you kept hearing about people going, we're not even a level one, where let's just pack a bag just in case. And
Right.
the next thing they know, their neighbors are banging on the door like, our house is on fire.
Hmm.
It's here. It's outside your door. Get out of the house now.
Right.
And over and over, these people. I'm sorry. Should I wait?
Oh, it's all right. So I was just going to share that. So I read the story about the boy. Um, his great or great grandfather was the founder of the little amusement park on I-5 up by Salem.
Enchanted Forest, yeah.
Enchanted Forest, that's right. And this family was not on an evacuation notice. They were either on a 1 or at a 0, and the dad had went to pick up a trailer to haul stuff out with, and in the meantime, nighttime had come. That mom and kid went to bed, and there was a mother that was staying there that had a broken leg. So the mom of so in the house was mom, grandmother's son, and then the son-in-law and the dog, and it was a 200-pound bull mastiff. And she woke up to smoke in her house, and she told her she had to make the decision. The mother had a broken leg, was waiting for surgery, and they had to make a decision. They couldn't get the car started, and so they had to leave mom behind. And so the woman and her son, she just told her son and dog to run. They couldn't get the car started. The house was on fire. There was fire all around them, and she just told them to run for their lives. And then she took off. Well, this man coming up the road had blew through the barricade, and he was going to get his family out. And so this man drove up the road, and he stopped, and he saw this woman. She was just in her underwear and bra, and no shoes, but her feet were severely burned. Her mouth was burned. Her hair was singed, and he's trying to get her to get in the vehicle, but she's not. She's in a trauma, and she's just not cooperating. And he's like, I got to go find my wife and my son. She said, I am your wife. That was his wife. He didn't even know her.
Right.
And so he got her in the vehicle, and they took off towards the house up into the fire and ran across a medic unit. And he left his wife with the medics, and he went on further, but they knew he couldn't. It was literally a wall of flames. And they found later on the boy and the dog in a car on the property. So the boy had doubled back, and he went and got his grandma.
Yeah.
And he put her in the car, and he got in the car, and they found them passed away with the dog draped over the boy's body. And it is traumatic. I mean, it's going to be traumatic for the whole area. They're not the only. There's about 200 people missing in Oregon right now.
Right.
And I saw a long line of these big trucks, for a better word, that are search and rescue, that are going to eventually be going in to these areas that have been burned and are going to start looking to recover bodies. And it is extremely traumatic. Let me say hi to a couple people here. Van Vita, thank you, Paula, for coming so much. And Kaylee, thank you. And Scott for welcoming people. Let's see, I know RV DJ, welcome, dear. I'm glad you are here today. Make sure I haven't missed anybody. I know that this is a hard topic, and I know it's a frightening topic. Hold on. Apparently I have to look. Oh, hold on. I'm going to put the camera up over my head for a minute so you can see my little queen back there, little Patty Cake. Yep. And by the way, I would never leave my animals. I'm not, that's not a judgment on anybody who has, because I get it. Somebody had to leave their mother behind. You know, this woman had to leave her mom in a burning house.
Yeah.
I have a dad that I took care of. I can't fathom the fear it would take for me to leave my father behind. But I can tell you, if I couldn't move, and I am disabled, but I can move, if it was me or my son's life, I would tell my son to take my dog and run, and his dog and run. Take the animals and run, go. And I know that without question. And as far as animals, I feel the same kind of love I feel for my family that I feel for my animals, and they're like a semi-human to me. I don't know, something may be wrong with me, but so yesterday I met up with a friend her name is Yvonne. She doesn't mind me saying that, and she and her husband live up in Marcola, and they had, I believe it was a level 3 evacuation, and they did
Right.
have to flee, and they came into town. Now Marcola is where my father grew up. I mean, that whole I have my maiden name is Kincaid, and all of my Kincaid family is buried in Marcola, and
Oh, wow.
I know all those little streets and the areas and whatnot. And so I I have great connection to that community. Well, they were on that evacuation and they did come into town and they had a place to stay. They're back out there on a level 2, and just to protect their property, because she had went out, and here's the disgusting side of this whole what happens in these kind of situations is the pigs that go and try to loot. I despise those people. If I feel any really extreme negative feelings, which we try not to do, I feel them for looters. I have no compassion or no empathy for any of them. They have no right and no business taking other people's property. And she caught someone on her property, and she's lucky. The guy was lucky it was just her.
Right.
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 And so she got him gone off her property. And so they did eventually have police covering basically all entrances to that community, the roads, because people take advantage of there being people leaving their properties, and what can we go get from them that ain't ours.
Right.
So so yesterday I went to hang out at the new evacuation center over at Martin. I'm sorry, Patty. Yes, they moved. Now I do believe they are still doing some stuff at Springfield High School.
Yes.
But it is the new evacuation center is at the Moose Lodge over across from Austin Stadium, or not? Yes, Austin Stadium.
Yeah.
Yep. And I went over there, and there was about a total of 200 people between the between evacuees and the volunteers. And I was with an organization called Patriot Rescue. And what they do is they're helping rescue animals. They're there to go rescue animals. Now, they were also, as they could, helping people. Like were able to place people in a couple beds. And Yvonne was working on helping a family, a man and his disabled father, and placing them in a location. So, and then we were sitting right next to the Red Cross, and they had a booth there. Now, the unfortunate part of this right now is there's nobody in charge. And when you have nobody in charge, all kinds of people can filter through. And they were getting some people who were lying, and it was clear they were lying to just come in and get some free things. Because I've got a video I'm going to be putting up that I took, and I was really careful. I felt intrusive. I didn't want to intrude at all. This is a crisis, and I didn't want to take advantage of people's crisis. I mean,
Right.
I have it in my yard. I have it around me, but I didn't have to flee. I mean, I don't think we're going to have to flee. I've got a couple of other quick updates here. So I'm going to pull up on the screen with us. You can sit right there, Patty. You don't have to go anywhere. That's kind of the... So today in our area, this is the advisory going on. Lots of smoke and fog.
Yeah.
Be prepared to stop suddenly. Watch for bikers and pedestrians, for God's sakes, because this is an area that even now there's people out because that's all their transportation they have, maybe, is a bike, and they're doing the best they can. So be real careful. And I've looked I even took a right-hand turn rather than go across and turn left, because I wasn't feeling secure that I could see adequately to make that left-hand turn and cross 4 lanes of traffic. So I just made a right-hand turn. So it's a little inconvenient, but so what? Maybe I didn't hit somebody. And to make ourselves visible. So if you have to be out on the road, if you have to ride a bike or walk, just make yourself visible. so that was one of the things I wanted to share because that's important to know how right now I can't see a block away. I'm looking out, I'm looking straight through my window that looks to my backyard and across, what would be the equivalent of about a block. I'm barely seeing the big trees over there. That's how between the fog and the smoke. Um,
Right.
and then we've got, so what I found out by doing some research today was the fellow from the state fire marshal's office. He had an update, and I'm not going to really play it, but it's burned about 171 or 61,000 acres. And it is at this point moving at a very slow, he kind of did this. He said it's moving at a very slow rate. So people, RVDJ, I got a pickup truck, jump in the bed, and we are off. Yes, I hear you, RVDJ. So it's moving slower and it's moving more northwest.
Right.
It's not those Santa Ana like winds that we were having, which was the actual problem, because this ain't the first forest fire Oregon or Washington has had. We've got another person in the room right now who's being overwhelmed by this as well. And so that was a nice update to have, that it's moving a little bit slower. And so
Well, that was weird. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm still on. So I guess I will talk for a minute. I hope Lucretia, it seems like maybe they lost power or something. So I don't know if I'm still on, so I'll just talk in case I am. Oh, here she comes. Okay. I lost you. I was like, okay, I'll host for a moment.
I knew you could do it, Patty. I knew you could do it.
I know, it's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's good news. I mean, that's good news. It is going to take a while. News. Yeah. We also have someone else, Bob, Bob's Adventures on Wheels. Bob, would you like to come up and share your experience with us, and you can chat with me and Patty? What I'm going to do is, in case you do, and I know you may not want to, you may be busy and just kind of watching from the sidelines, but I'm going to put put a link down in the chat. And you're welcome. And if there's anyone else in the room who's also going through the wildfire stuff, you're welcome to come up and chat with us and share your experience. But what I know is that this is going to take some time to get rid of. There were people thinking this was going to be gone by Monday. Kaylee has a good point. Check out lighted vests for people, or Tracer 360 and lighted leashes and collars for dogs by Knox Gear. Amazon sells. Okay, so one of the issues I saw yesterday, and this was, oh my gosh. So an EMT unit with their lights on came into this compound. I've got to readjust a little bit. Came into the compound and they had their lights on. And the lights of an ambulance are blop, blop, blop. Got the white ones. Well, when they came in, there was somebody who has seizures, and it affected them, and they went down. And so they had to go over and attend to this person that had a seizure because of their lights. And I know I have a friend who has a seizure disorder who also has struggled with lights. It is very common. So hello, welcome to I know that I'm going to say your name wrong. I apologize. I'm going to do the best I can. Ikawa Ngbuhe Ko. So welcome to you, Islamabad Vlogs. Glad you're here. I know you've been here a few times. I'm so glad to see you again. So we're talking about the fires that have affected many of us in the Pacific Northwest. Patty and I are both within about 20 miles of the fire. She's closer to it than I am. And we're asking, we're just talking about that. So you have known people who've had to evacuate up near, what was the town?
Walterville. They were just south of, and I'd been to their place. Beautiful area. They had their chickens, and it's just a beautiful place. And they lost when the power went out here on Monday. I guess the power had already gone out for them. So by Tuesday morning, they're outside talking to neighbors, and they're looking, neighbors are packing their stuff because they're
Uh,
not getting any notifications. They're not getting any emergency alerts because the Wi-Fi was out. So they had no internet and no cell phone service. And so it turns out they were in a level 2 at that point and didn't even know it.
oh
So
gosh.
they were like, we're just going to pack up. And they got the chickens and their dog, cute little dog, Lilu, who's adorable. And they
Oh,
left. And right after they left, their area hit level 3, and they still had received no notices. And I've heard that over and over, people posting on Facebook of, we had no notice whatsoever. And then they're it's this person's fault, it's the government's fault. It's like it just, some of this was, it's a failure of us trusting our cell phones to save our lives at this point. And
yes.
so it's like me, I don't have regular television, so I can't turn on my TV and listen to the local news.
Right.
I can't. So I'm on my phone on Lane County Gov. I'm looking at Lane County Sheriff,
Uh,
because they're updating every half hour. So every half hour I'm checking in to see where is the line, because I at this point, but that's because I learned from everything that happened this week.
uh,
I just got a thing on Messenger. My sister-in-law out in New York is checking on me again,
uh,
because my family's been checking on me. Everyone's like, "Are you okay? Are you
yeah.
okay out there?" Because they're like, "Oh my God!" It's like when a hurricane hits New York, and I'm checking with them. Are you guys okay?
Right.
But
Right.
I've never feared for their lives the way they're feared for mine because of this. With hurricane, it's like, oh God, did the trees go down? Is there,
Yes.
what kind of damages are there? I've never been like, oh God, I hope they didn't drown because 100-foot wall of water came onto the island. But with this, and with the way the winds were, we really were like, I told somebody Saturday, I said something about packing a bag. And the attitude that he gave me, it was just kind of like like you thought that the fire would get here, like you packed a bag, like you puss. And it was like, yeah, I don't know, it's just the winds were whipping at 80 miles an hour. There was, flames were shooting in the air. It is 15 miles away from me, but the idea that maybe those sparks could move with
Yes.
those winds and hit this area, you're right, color me crazy. I packed a bag. It was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm because on Tuesday we did hit panic mode. We hit, our,
Yes.
you're amped up. You're just, you wind up in fight or flight mode. I've been reading stuff about what smoke does to you, and
Right.
one of the things was with having smoke, like I've had in the apartment all week. It's like it's like the fight, like your fight or flight. Your what is it? The brain, oh the lizard brain, whatever. Yeah,
Yes.
lizard brain.
Yes. The
Your
lizard
lizard brain
brain.
is like, we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here. And so you're in a constant state of panic that you keep logically telling yourself, it's okay. We're fine. Watch something stupid on YouTube. I've done a lot of watching something stupid on YouTube. A
I know.
lot of, here's random videos of like kittens being kittens and dogs getting rescued from wherever, and just that kind of thing, putting on kids movies just to remember it's okay. It's okay, because we have Wi-Fi. I
Right.
haven't had, my phone hasn't gone off since Wednesday last week,
Hmm.
where Tuesday my phone went off like 12 times. Toot,
Yes.
toot,
Yes.
So by Thursday it's like, okay, we're not, they didn't move the evac center from my neighborhood. What they did was they said, by Saturday they said, stop dropping stuff off here because we're full. That's how
Right.
much the community support has been. And
Yes.
so, yay, Oregon, everyone here has been super about coming out. And, my worker came here Tuesday and went to the store for me. And she said, when she came back, she said there was a man in the parking lot who had evacuated Blue River last night,
Hmm.
like ran for his life Blue River. And he asked her if she had a box for his cat. And he said, I have 4 cats. I was only able to grab one of them because cats hide. And if you're
Yes.
running for your life, you can't get under the bed to get them.
Yes.
You can't. And so he had one of his four cats, and he's like, I'm going to go back tomorrow. He's like, I'm hoping to be able to go back tomorrow and see if I could find them. And she's
Right.
like, she just, and so with COVID, you are already wearing a mask. And she's like, I wanted to hug him. I wanted to just grab him and hug him. She's like, but I didn't. And I was like, oh, and I'm thinking, I'm like, I would have hugged him. I would have leaned over so that my head wasn't near his head because of the COVID. And
Right.
so, but I still would have given him a hug and just been like, oh my God. And she's like, what's really weird is that morning, Tuesday, she put a box in her car for no reason.
Oh, wow.
She was like, I gotta put a box. I don't have a box. And so she was like, she told me this. She's like, I didn't need a box. She goes, but I put a box in the car. And
Right.
here this guy says, can you have a box for my cat? And when
Right.
she first told me, I thought it meant that his cat was dead. And I'm like, oh my God. She's like, no, the cat's okay. She was like, but he had to leave the other three. And it's like, these people, there's people online, I've got trailer for your horse if you need us
Right.
to come. And by then it was level 3. So if you're going in there, you're risking your life to go in to try and save their horses.
Right.
You're risking your life to go in to save their sheep, their goats, their pigs, their whatever.
Right.
And they were going in like,
Yes.
just like that guy with his breaking the barricade to go save his family, because there was just with some of it, with those winds, the fire moved so quickly. And meanwhile, we had already been, a lot of the firefighters from Oregon had left and gone to California to help them. So when the hit the fan here, our firefighters were in California. And there, you look at there, it's like I saw a thing posted on Thursday that I shared because I knew that this would be something my family could understand. It was one of the fires was burning, that the area was being burned was the size of Central Park every
Oh,
half hour.
yeah.
And I shared that on Facebook, and that's when my family was like, holy crap. And they're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, this is how much is burning. It's just, I saw some post, and it showed like the Americans had put, and it is the United States had posted a thing showing all the fires, but they're showing the United States fires. And some celebrity posted it and was like, hey, you guys talk about climate change. How come Canada isn't on fire if that was real? And it's like, well, that's because they didn't include the Canadian fires in the picture. It's like,
Right.
what are
Right.
why are you making this political?
Right.
People like, oh, it was the Antifa, it was the BLM, oh, it was the right wingers, and people trying to point fingers of who's starting the fires. And it was like, Mother Nature started the fires. That
Mm.
nobody's out there doing this. Isn't somebody, see a post of some guy saying, I've got my gun and I'm ready to protect my property. And it's like, okay, people, let's breathe.
Right.
This is a natural disaster.
Oh,
Now, there was somebody who was arrested over by Dexter
yes.
Lake,
Yep.
where I go swimming all the time.
Right.
And he tried to start a fire by the Frisbee golf.
Yes.
And a friend of mine and I were talking about it. And I said, right now, I go, I don't think that's about politics. I go,
No.
these are people who are firebugs. They're arsonists.
Yes. Yes.
And right now, their disease is telling them, no one will know it's you. There's so many fires.
Right.
We could get away with it. No one will know it's us. And
Right.
so they're out there. And I'm like, so if anybody is getting caught, I go, they didn't cause the fire, but their disease is telling them to take advantage of an already
Right.
terrible situation.
Right. Right. And there was another person, and I think it was Polk County. It was a county, I believe, north of us, that also had someone who started a fire.
Right.
I saw the picture in the paper of both of those men, and it isn't a political issue, and it's ridiculous that anybody will try and there hasn't even been done. They can't even get into where the fire started yet. I mean,
Right.
well, what I understand, and I watched one of the people who has a team of fire, the special firefighters who goes in and fights these fires, and he was talking about, at least in his experience with this fire, it had started about 20 miles where there wasn't even roads. And he said, none of these people are prepared and equipped to hike in 20 miles and start a fire. It was pretty far away from the roadways. So, also, so they are in Eugene. There's also two places, two respite centers that I know of. One is out where people can go and just kind of escape the smoke for a while.
Right.
And one of them is at the fairgrounds here in Eugene, at the big center there. And they're also going to be taking 15 evacuees, not necessarily, let me rephrase that, 15 people who are at high risk that the smoke can affect really traumatically. And they don't have to be an evacuee. It can be, so it could be somebody who just doesn't have adequate way to protect themselves from what's going on out there on the outside. Because as Kaylee has said several times, the smoke in and of itself can harm people. It can harm animals. And so they're providing some place for them to stay. There was also at the evacuation center, so a couple of the stories that I caught up, was able to catch, was that they were finding places where if you had an RV of some sort, which applies to many people some people in this chat and other people that I know, considering that's what I want to be doing here come January, is to be out on the road full time, is to have a place for them to go park their vehicle on someone's property away from having to be on the roadside and ideally away from the direct line of smoke. And they were finding some places for that. Also, there was a big, huge area of clothes. There was a bunch of shoes. I mean, we're talking maybe 100 pair of shoes, laid out for people to choose from, and clothes. And there were also some big trucks, 18-wheeler, the box part that, if there's any truck drivers in here, they're laughing at me. The box part where you actually put stuff that had things in them. And people, there was a restaurant in town that delivered a whole carload of fresh food, good food, by the way. And it was just sitting there for anybody to take. And then there was other foods that had been donated and were, not were the kind like box foods, just different things. So the trailer, Kaylee thanks for me. She thanks for me quite a bit. Thank you, dear. I appreciate you very much.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm like, trailer. The word is trailer.
Trailer.
I was like, password. The word is trailer.
I know it. So yeah, it's a very serious situation, and it's going to be for a while. And I feel sad for everybody involved, because there's not, for those that are really truly affected, there were homes that burned down up near Blue River, Vida. And this is our playground, people. This is where people like me and Patty, we go upriver to go to the river, to go to lakes, to just go view the beauty. I was just telling Richard, and by the way, a channel update. Richard is day 8 with no nicotine of any sort.
That's awesome.
If he ends today with no nicotine, he will have gone 8 days. And so a week from today, he should be able to take the urine test that he needs to take in order to be able to have the insurance company approve his surgery. So surgery is within sight now. It was not within sight as long as he was smoking, but surgery is within sight. So thank you, everybody who has prayed for him and has been supportive, because it has been months of Richard struggling with nicotine.
Yeah.
But anyways, so there was there was clothes, there was food, there was people to just talk to. If you had any kind of need, the Red Cross they were starting to make opportunities for people to stay at different places. Like there was some certain amount of beds in motels. You know how it works, and it's not quick and easy, unfortunately. And here's a very frightening thing. So FEMA, Federal Emergency Management, They're the ones, as we all know, I think, that come in when there's a disaster. So this has been declared a disaster, but it's not been declared a disaster at the level FEMA can actually step in and take control of the situation. And why I bring that up is because FEMA has the ability to bring in trailers for people to stay in. They have the ability to provide things that people need at a mass level. Right now, it was one of the reasons there was so much kind of chaos is there was nobody in charge of that location. There was
Now,
welcome. Go
does the
ahead.
FEMA, does that have to come from President Trump, or is
No,
that?
well, no, because President Trump has said that he would provide all the assistance possible, but FEMA has their own level of when they come in and provide assistance, and we just haven't been. It hasn't become a disaster at the level that FEMA has their guidelines. You know,
Oh
everybody.
my God.
I know, and
We have
so
500,000 people that have evacuated.
well,
500,000 people have evacuated just in the state of Oregon.
so
Plus, we
so
have, I know that people were talking about, we have a homeless population here in Lane County, but particularly in the Eugene area, we have a lot of youth that are homeless,
yes,
getting
yes,
away from situations. But
sure,
so it was like as the air quality plummeted, and the air quality has been so poor, it's beyond the charts. They only go up
yeah,
to a level 300 for this is toxic, and we've been in the 500s for like 5 days at
yes,
least. And they're like, we don't know, like it's been so bad, and I'm sure it's just as bad, if not worse, in California because of how bad it is there. And it's like they don't know what the long-term effects of this will be. So
right,
I'm sure that in 50 years, there'll be studies being released about these areas where these fires took place back in
yes,
2020, and we followed the people from that area and checked on their breathing capacities, on the amounts of cancer that came up from lung cancer, on, high blood pressure. All of these, this is, like all of the long-term results are going to be coming. But
sure,
with all these people out there that are trying to help, and we got the firefighters who, half of these guys, they can't even wear a mask because it's so hot that they can't breathe to begin with. So I
mm-hmm,
don't know what they have. I hope to God they've got something to protect them. But most of the
sure,
time when I see pictures of them, they're on the ground with nothing on their face because they're exhausted.
yeah,
And so I'm just, it's like always, it's always like, well, we can pray for them. Like, yes, you can pray for them. It's like, give me something physical, give me something practical to do, because
right,
there's so much of the feeling of powerlessness of, I don't know what to do. And it's like, okay. And I've seen posts now. It's like, if you can't get to where the donation center is, contact us. And
yes,
so that's
yes,
one of the things I'll be doing in the next day or so is contacting, going, I don't know if you still need clothes. I don't really have any food that I can donate because half the
mm-hmm,
time I'm going to get the food box. But it's like,
right,
at least I've got some clothes that I could probably give. Maybe a
sure.
couple, most of the shoes that I'd be donating, they're sandals. I'm like, we're heading into
I
fall and
know.
winter. They're not really going to help anybody, but for right now, they might help somebody.
Yeah,
For this week, they might help somebody.
sure.
And so,
Well,
I'm just
well,
really grateful that the winds died down. And I'm
yeah,
really grateful that even though it is foggy, the fog brings a moisture in the air, which is helping to weigh down the smoke to try and bring it down to the ground.
mm-hmm,
The valley is still, it's just a blanket of fuzz, of terrible air. And we're, really praying for that to be alleviated by rain. And we were told originally last week, it was like, oh, it's going to rain Monday. And now it's like, well, maybe by Friday it'll rain. Maybe by, Saturday it'll rain. And so everyone keeps praying for rain. But in the meantime, and every day, you go on, I go on to, Lane County Fire, and I like I said, I don't have regular television. So I can look at like ABC News, which is usually out of New York. So they'll show what's going on, but they're not talking about, they're not like,
Right.
oh, we're talking to Betty from VITA, and this is what's happening here in Oregon. So in order to get the local news, I have a couple of apps that I'm on that I'm clicking
Yeah.
through and checking through stories and stuff. But
There's one, Patty. Also,
yeah,
Lane County mugshots. Lane
okay,
County mugshots, oddly enough, is a place where people share a lot of information, and there's
yeah,
actually quite a bit of information on the fire. The people who are on the ground having to deal with it. I wanted to, and there's one person I'd like to invite up. We have a few minutes left, and I know she's been affected by the fire. Victoria Mae Wallace is in Washington, and she really it's really affected them too. Victoria, I dropped a link in the chat, and if you would like to come up and just share what Patty has done. She lives in Springfield, down here right near where I live. She's closer to the fire than I am, but I know you've also had a great amount of effect on you, and if you'd like to come up and share what your experience has been with having to deal with it, how you've dealt with it, that would be great. I know that you have lung disease, and you know, I can smell it in my house. It burns my eyes and it burns my nose. It's not really caused me to not be able to to breathe well. And I know Tuesday night you were talking about the panicky. Hey, Victoria, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you up on screen here, Victoria. I'm going to add you to the stream. Hi, Victoria.
Hi,
Um,
Patricia.
Tuesday night, my son and we went out. I was felt so insecure, even though I knew the fire was a ways away, about 20 miles away. What it wasn't so much that fire that had me scared. The winds and anything that might happen locally, like closer to us. So it isn't the fire out there that would be my fear of getting us. We would have plenty of time to get away, but it was if anything happened right in our own community, which we have, Patty, we have all the west and the east hills of Eugene that are a tinderbox. I used to sell properties up there, and I remember thinking to myself, you couldn't pay me to live up in the east or west hills.
right.
I just wouldn't. I just would not. Anyways, we've got one more guest up here, Victoria Mae Wallace, who is a wonderful supporter of the channel, and she is also being affected by this horrid smoke. You want to tell people what's been going on for you, Vicki?
Well, I came outside just to show you the air quality here is still pretty bad. You can't see across the freeway here. You can't see real well, but all the smoke is just completely low. I mean, I can feel it when I come out here, and you can actually still smell the wood smell from the fires, from the wood that's burning, the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's been this way. Oh, I'm going to say we had a couple days that it cleared up. And it's been this way, I'm going to say a good week now, solid week, nonstop. And the only way I can think to get a reprieve a little bit is to go inside, and I have my house completely shut up. The fans are all on, kind of blowing the air inside there. But even standing in my yard, this is right behind me. I don't know if you could see the foggy
Right.
back there, hiding actually the trees right behind me. And it's been nonstop.
Where are you at, Vicki?
I'm in Pasco, Washington. It's called the Tri-Cities. It's Pasco, Richland, and Kennewick. And we're also part of Yakima County, which is Benton City and Burbank. Or actually, Burbank is part of Yakima County. But yeah, as far as I know, we're still having fires up by Seattle and on the other side of Spokane.
So if people are traveling to the Pacific Northwest, they need to really check out what your destination location is, and what it, how it might be affecting you, or even if there's a place to stay right now. Because the other night, Tuesday or Wednesday night, my sister, who lives in Springfield, a little closer, a little further, or even further into the smoke zone than you, Patty, she was looking for a motel in Eugene. Springfield couldn't find one. Everything was booked up.
Yeah,
So just be
it's so
careful.
thick. Yeah, at night it's like being on another planet. I mean, it
Yes.
is so black. And then when you look at the street lights, because that's the best way to see just how bad the smoke is at night. When you look at the street lights, you can see the smoke just hovering underneath, under
Right.
there. And
Yep.
everything is orange and black at night.
Yes.
And it's just so, it's like living on another planet. It's
I've
so
got
weird.
I got some shots of the sun that I've never seen the sun be that color before. It is very much, it's not the regular like hot red sun. It's more of an orange, very much an orange yellow. It's just, it's bizarre. But how's it affecting your health, Vicky?
Well, I've been having, I can feel the heaviness in my chest, and my throat is kind of raw feeling, and my eyes just constantly feel like they're caked with, sleep, like if you wake up and you have the sleep in your eyes.
Yes.
It's kind of like that. It feels like that. But I use my inhaler at least once a day anymore, and I never hardly ever used my inhalers.
Yep.
But I've been using them once a day, if not twice a day. And my little old dog Tico, that's in my videos, he had that spell where I thought he was going to die. Well, because of this smoke, he has started that coughing and hacking again, which has got me really concerned. So I only let the dogs out long enough to go potty, and then they're right back in the house. And I don't go out hardly at all. I mean, I go to check the mail, and I go out with my dogs because we have predator birds. And
wow.
Yeah, we have hawks and not hawks. I don't know the name of them, but we have these big birds that'll come in and they're hunting the birds. So they're big enough to carry off my little dog. And so I go out with them.
We've only let the dogs out really long enough to go to the bathroom and back in. And Patty doesn't like, my little patty cake dog, the beagle doesn't. Is she still in here? She does not really. She loves to go outside, so she's constantly wanting in and out. But like you, Patty, with your cat, I just have to say no. You're not going out. You don't need to go out. And I need to say hello to Lily Lazaga. Hello, Lily. You're so sweet. I'm glad you're here. And I will probably be by your channel if you've got a show later on. So I'm really happy that you're safe, Patty. Patty's in my community. Victoria, Vicky's, you're north of us. And I know everybody that's in the Pacific Northwest is being pummeled with this. Bob from Bob's Adventures on Wheels is in the same situation. And so we're just praying for everybody to be safe and to not get, sick. I don't like the masks, and I try to get away when I'm not forced to wear it, I don't wear it. Okay. I'm just one of those people, but I respect other people, and but I find myself putting it on a little more when I'm outside, if I have to go outside, because it is not a good feeling. My raspiness that's in my voice is way worse than it's ever been. And so eagles, I think Maggie was trying to tell you, Patty, is it might be eagles. We had eagles land at about a couple of years ago. We got some pictures, but they're not great pictures. At the end of our street, it was a dead end street. Richard and I came home one time, and there was these 3 very large birds, and he figured out they were eagles. I mean, we're talking 2 feet high.
Yeah.
When they
They're
were standing
big.
on the
They're
pavement.
really big.
And
I had
there
wondered
was,
if it was eagles. I also thought because like the hawks. I mean, even on Long Island in New York, my brother's got a Pomeranian, and a hawk came down and almost got the dog, and he was like, so he's terrified to let the dog get too far away from him, and that was a couple of years ago.
uh
So it's like the birds have gotten more aggressive over the last few years, and with this going on, it's it's just whatever. Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people aren't thinking what is happening to all these animals out there. They're frightened, they're running. I haven't heard about them coming into towns yet, which is very surprising to me because what is happening to, bears,
Right,
cougars,
Right.
right.
rabbit. I mean, you would think deer, everything. You would be seeing them coming into towns and you're not. So that just tells me all these animals are also dying. I
Yeah,
mean, when this is
probably.
done and over, they're going to find carcasses of just so many wild animals, which is sad because it's bad for our ecology. Is that the word?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, our whole ecosystem is connected. It's animals,
Right.
humans, plants.
Right. And there's the honeybees, which those are out there, and we are already having a low uh problems with our honeybees. So all these things, I've been having trouble sleeping, not just because of the air,
Right.
but because I'm on my knees praying. I'm literally on my knees beside my bed praying that God will stop these fires and protect these animals. I'm a big animal lover. I don't eat meat because I love animals so much. And so that's been my biggest prayer. I've been going to sleep like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
Oh,
because I've got all this on my mind. And then the people, I mean, at least the people have a brain enough to know how to escape. These
right.
Right.
animals are endless. I went outside yesterday or the day before and I just watched the birds flying in circles. They had no idea where to go. I mean,
Right.
they're trying to get away from the smoke, but yet have no idea of what destination because the smoke is everywhere.
It's
Right.
everywhere.
So,
Yeah.
you
Well,
got to think the animals in the woods, in the forest, and in the outskirts are doing the same thing. It's
well,
just
sure.
really,
I mean, it confuses. People are confused about what to do and where to go. I can only imagine what the animals are going through. And, you know, um, let's see, Glorious Life on Wheels.
Yeah.
Hopefully
That's a good. Yeah.
the forest, yeah, we'll put money in. Okay, so I know that the one of the forestry agencies was in flux with a gigantic amount of money recently. And I don't know if they can use that money to that they'll be using any of that. But I'll tell you, there will have to be some work on that because you're right. There
Yeah.
will be a lot of animal life lost, and we depend on that for lots of reasons. There's a symbiosis, a
Yeah.
symbiotic relationship
yeah,
between humans, animals, air, water. We're all connected.
the insects even. I mean, you don't even
Yeah,
think about
yeah,
everything. Everything has a reason, and
yes,
we're losing those things. And maybe not right now, but down the road, people are going to have to pay more money for food because farms are burning. Livestock that these farmers have no
Yeah.
time to get these and their farms and their crops. All of
Right.
this stuff, maybe people aren't thinking about those things right now because right now the main thing is the fires and the smoke. But later, because of all of this, it's going to affect the price of food and a lot of things that maybe even I haven't even had a clue about. It just, it's a horrible thing. And you were talking about people setting fires, and I've now seen 4 separate people talking about one lady. I wish I could remember her site, but she put a video out and she was videoing the police arresting some people that were starting fires along one of the freeways, one of the highways. They were on
In
either side of
Washington?
I don't know if I cannot tell you. I just remember seeing the video, and then I seen two other people talking about people. One person in Oregon that got arrested for starting fires in Oregon, and
Yep.
so some of these, like you said, they're firebugs, and they're
Yeah.
taking advantage of this time and making it last even longer. I mean, I
Yes.
think these fires would have been more under control had these firebugs not sat out there and restarted fires, you know?
Well, we need to be really careful. So I've seen obviously lots of different stories about who's doing it, the motive is behind it. And then I got to listen to this fireman who was talking about at least these big fires. I'm not going to make a judgment yet on what started them. I think listening to him, it's going to be natural because of we had like a perfect storm situation. And if anybody saw the Perfect Storm movie, you know what I'm talking about. There was just these elements that came together abnormally,
Right.
and we already have fires that start just like that in our deep forest, and we have to be very careful. So I'm being really careful with the things that I'm looking at, because I know there's people who have motives that are for whatever reason, and I just want to separate that out from the reality. So I think it's going to take a few weeks for them to figure out what has happened and why it's happened. So ladies, I'm going to drop you down. It's about an hour and 15 minutes into this, and I want to work on the video so I can get it out there. There was some good stuff that I picked up. So thank you both for coming up and chatting with me. Thank you so much, Patty. I appreciate you. I love you. You're my friend. And I know, if you get into a pinch and you got nowhere, always call me. It's not the best, every room in our house is filled, but there's a couch in the family room, and I'll make sure I vacuum everything good. But I say prayers for everybody, and thank you both for coming up and sharing your stories with us. It's very appreciated.
Thanks,
Thank
Lucretia.
you.
Thanks for asking me.
All right, dear. All right. So I'm going to share one last thing here that my friend sent, and I occasionally share these. It was a prayer and a Scottish proverb. He's Scottish, so that's what we get. So the prayer is, I pray that I may bring peace where there's discord. I pray that I may bring conciliation where there is conflict. I pray that I may learn this secret of abundant living. Amen for me. And then the Scottish proverb, sharing and giving are our greatest understanding. Ronan, a Torit Duhunin, and Tugsi as Ferrer Duhunin. Again, I'm probably not pronouncing those names right, but the intent is kindness. So I keep everybody in my prayer list, and I will be putting out a video on this soon. And thank you so much for showing up and staying with us. And if anything happens to switch things around and we're picking back up again, I'll let y'all know. And those of you who watch it will know. I love you guys, and see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.